Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by TheLions.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined as always by Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And we've got play-up props here for you guys. Just 5 games to choose from on this Thursday night slate with full transparency that Nate and I are recording this on Wednesday night after we just watched the rest of these NBA games. So we don't have as much to pick from as we may tomorrow. And you definitely want to keep an eye on everything we're talking about here with those lineups in the NBA. But while you are following along, make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Also check out the other couple game videos we have for you and head to thelines.com as always. Check out all the content we're putting up there for you. And that odds finder tool gets you all the best odds available for all these player props and more. Nate and I using that every time we talk about these player props with you guys. Nate, let's go ahead and jump right into your first NBA player prop for tonight. The current favorite for MVP, who is sliding a little bit backwards though.
Yeah, we're trying to follow this race, I guess. Just nailed it tonight with Embiid going for 38 and 18 in a win. Hope you hit some of those player performance doubles. But I think Jokic will have his day here on Thursday. Not that I don't think really cares or is gunning for that third straight MVP. I just think that he needs to start doing more offensively for Denver to snap out of this funk. And recently he has been scoring more, and he tends to score a lot more when he plays Eastern Conference teams. I don't know if it's a thing of like the familiarity of Western Conference teams. They chum out and blitz him, and then he has to do more creative things passing the ball to get guys open versus some of the teams in the East. They'll just try to play him one-on-one and not realize that he has all those tricks and tips to get scoring down low. And that's why he's averaging. So we're looking at 26 points per game on a 29% usage rate, his last 8 versus the East, compared to 22 points per game, 25% usage last 8 versus the West. You look at his last 3 versus Detroit, it's about the same, just a little bit better, 31 points per game, 13 rebounds, and on 60% shooting, 31% usage rate. And by the way, the Nuggets have not covered in any of those. In fact, they lost one at home in just some weird stuff. But I think we're not really expecting Denver to cover 12 points. Jaden Ivey should be back here tonight to give the Pistons a little bit of a competitive roster. But we are talking about James Wiseman starting and trying to guard Jokic. James Wiseman, who probably belongs in the G League still at this point, who does not know what he's doing on defense at all. So we're 21.5 points for the Joker after he's topped this in 2 consecutive losses and tougher matchups than this, to say the least. Detroit is 29th in defensive rating, 29th in paint points allowed, and gives up the 5th most rebounds to centers as well. So if you want to take 12.5 rebounds or add the 2 together, I don't hate that, but I think the points are just particularly low given what we know about Jokic here.
Yeah, who's even playing for Detroit? Like, isn't just every person over 6'8" on that team sitting at this point, right? Like everybody's hurt or whatever they are. Yeah, the only thing you worry about is a blowout factor, but like, do you right now with Denver? Do you worry about it on the road? I mean, shoot, even at home, I don't know. The 21.5 points is low. We'll see what kind of state of mind Denver is in. Maybe the worst thing that could have happened to them down the stretch is that Memphis just falls apart and there's nobody really challenging them, even though the Kings are tied with Memphis in second right now. Yeah, you worry about the care factor, but like, come on, man, 21.5 for this guy. He should be getting that in his sleep. Hopefully he just comes out in the first quarter, gets 10, right? And like, we're like halfway there and we just finish it off in the third quarter basically. And I think that's possible. So I'm going to go with Mikal the Destroyer, the man, the myth, whatever you want to call him on Brooklyn right now. Definitely their option 1A and kind of B, honestly. 25.5 points in a game against the Kings that like I kind of like over still. Just all those numbers we talk about in that game video sort of lead to that. And Mikal, one of the things we talk about in the game video real quick is them figuring things out. So let's not take all 14 of the games that Mikal has played. I actually did that in the game video. I split up Brooklyn's offense in the first 4 and the last 10. First 4 was atrocious, and Mikal was getting his bearings, still averaging like 27, or I think it was like 21 in those first 4 games. But in his last 10, yeah, he's averaging 28 at this point, 28 and a half. Really insane efficiencies there with 61% from the field, nearly 50% from deep, and making 90% of his free throws. And then, honestly, even with that 28.5 in his last 10, there was a game where he played 10 minutes against Milwaukee. So you take that game out, and it's above 30 that he's scoring in those last 9, basically. And yeah, with that high total, both these teams playing at the top 5 fastest pace over their last 10 as well. And the Kings are allowing a lot of points to the opposing small forward, I guess is where we're putting Mikal at this point. But definitely, like, in that range, and assists as well, which I wish Mikal was getting a few more assists. This offense would probably look a lot better. He's not quite that type of playmaker yet, but I think you can stick with the points, feel good about that. I know you also like the steals there, and for him to get a couple of those against his team. So I'll let you tell us about that real quick.
Well, it's juicy as hell. It's plus 165 for him to get 2 steals. We're talking about one of the premier steal guys out there. I guess he's been concentrating a lot more on offense with the Nets. And even if I don't like over for the entire total for this game, I like over for Bridges, because that's exactly what we just saw. Is the Nets offense struggled mightily at OKC, but Mikal still got 30 plus because he is, like you said, he's just the man. He's trying to score. The Kings, I think, are giving up a pretty high turnover rate lately. Fox just had 5 turnovers against that pressure Bulls defense. They allow the 5th most steals to shooting guards in their last 15. The way Sabonis plays, there's just opportunities to kind of read where he's going to go with the ball and for Mikal to break on it. So I think that the plus odds there are definitely intriguing along with the points. I'll take an under here in the Raptors game. My guy, Spicy P, Pascal Siakam, has failed to hit 22 points in 7 straight games, averaging just 16 points per game in that span. His usage rate is dropping because the Raptors have gotten some other guys healthy, more integrated, and they're just not going to give Pascal so much usage if he can't hit.
Make a
he's
shot.
shooting 40% from the floor in that span and not connecting from deep, either 25% from out there. So that's when you look at an OKC team that's limiting paint points, 4th fewest down low. So, I mean, is he going to be able to beat them from the mid-range and from deep? I mean, not unless he knocks the rust off in a hurry. He does have really notable home road splits, I will say. He does average 26 at home since the new year started. But you look at it just his last 3 against pretty quality defenses. He's still shooting 25% from deep, averaging 4 assists per game. I would look at the under on the assists. 4.5 assists is plus 125. You can get a safer bet on the under 27.5 points in assists, because I don't think he's really scoring that much, but the juice there is intriguing, or plus 120 for him to commit 3 turnovers. It's just there's numbers to back it up with OKC forcing the most turnovers to power forwards in their last 30 and allowing the 6th fewest assists. So just kind of a tough matchup for him to be a playmaker out of that role. And I think he stays kind of cold here tonight in a herky-jerky game.
Yeah, it's fair. Yeah, it could be pretty herky-jerky. I think it's going to be – the reason I think there's going to be points is I think they're just going to both bludgeon each other, to be honest. But I think the problem for Pascal is that he if he's not making shots, he's not the matchup problem that you pay him to be. That's his skill. His number one attribute is versatility. He's either going to be stronger than you or he's going to be faster than you, depending on who you put on him. And Jalen Williams, got inserted into that starting lineup at power forward for the Thunder, roughly like 15-ish, 20 games ago. And at the beginning of the season and on the season as a whole, because it took them so long to start him, Thunder actually are giving up a bunch of points to power forwards on the season, like the 6th most. But you dumb that down to the last 15 games, that goes down to the 8th fewest that they're allowing, because Jalen Williams, my guy who I love, Jaelen, not the Jaylen one. That
Although
starts
the
at
other
7.
Jalen's a good defender too.
No, he is. He is. But
yeah.
Just to be clear, we're talking about Jay Will with the Alen. And now I'm going to talk about Jalen Williams and his props. Segue to him once more. 16.5 points. We love his defense, and we love what he can do, and we love that under for Pascal as a result. But he's actually gotten more than 17 points or more in 7 straight games, and 8 of his last 9 as well. In that sense, he's averaging 23.5 over those last 7, and 21.5 over his last 10. either way, that's more than 16 and a half, right? So I think we feel pretty good about that one in this matchup. I do think he's going to have, obviously, Pascal, been a pretty decent defender, but still opportunities to score in transition and after getting rebounds and things of that nature with Jay Will. So it's not like he's just going to be in the half court waiting for, Pascal to match up with him. He's been doing all this without even that high of a usage rate, 22.5%, and that usage does drop when Shai Gilgeous comes back, which he did miss a few games there, and Jay Will went the hell off without him for 26 a game in 3 games that he was playing without SGA in that sense. So he's been shooting the ball really well, getting really good open looks because Josh Giddey's also been diming up a lot. So with that 139 individual offensive rating that he's had in his last 7 games, I feel good about him getting points in this one at a 231.5 total in that Raptors game.
Yeah, you love to see the confidence growing without SGA to be the top option for a minute and then, slide back into that secondary role, because does that mean, SGA sees OG Anunoby tonight and then Jalen Williams gets to operate against other guys instead of being that number one guy, but he still has the confidence of being a number one guy and now being the runner-up in the Rookie of the Year contest. It looks like, maybe if they started him all year, he would be, because he's an absolute stud, playing with incredible efficiency right now. 16.5 points at even odds seems kind of low. We'll see if that actually moves. If people if the odds makers realize that they're setting something that has been topped very, very consistently by this guy.
And maybe you just believe in that Raptors team more than Nate and I do. But God damn them if they screw us on this one. That is all the time we have for you in this one. Make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Continue to follow along. Check out the other couple videos we have up for you tonight as well. Until we see you next, happy betting.